There is a heated debate raging today in American politics: the right of the American public to pack heat. In the wake of numerous horrifying mass shootings that have taken place over the past decade, it's certainly easy to see why. Politicians in Washington have used these tragedies to further their own political agendas in an attempt to lessen the public's ability to purchase firearms. Since the Newtown, Connecticut shootings in 2013, hundreds of bills have entered the House and the Senate, attempting to restrict the American people's access to high-volume magazines and assault weapons. While many of these bills have failed to gain any momentum in either house of Congress, the rate of their introduction shows no signs of slowing down. Should the national government of the United States be able to regulate the public's access to firearms? To simply put it, no. The right to bear arms was critically important to the founders of the United States. The personal freedom to choose to own a firearm of any type is the only aspect of the Bill of Rights contested today, and it is a freedom that should not be infringed upon by the government at any level, because the government can simply not protect every citizen.
Living in the 21st century, it can be difficult for the American public to fully understand the implications of the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This amendment, second only to freedom of religion in the order it appears in the Bill of Rights, does not simply intend to protect the right of an American citizen to own a handgun for personal protection. A well-regulated militia was what allowed them to found their free state. These key words describe exactly why the Founding Fathers loved their guns so much. They had just staged a violent uprising against a tyrannical king who had tried to deprive them of the means to gain their independence. After the Sons of Liberty famously threw an entire shipment of tea into Boston Harbor at the Boston Tea Party, the British Empire sought to tighten their grip on the increasingly problematic colonists. The Intolerable Acts, as the colonists would soon begin to call them, were passed by Parliament soon after in 1774. When the acts did little to quell the movement for independence, the British monarchy began seizing gunpowder and dismantling the weapons owned by American colonists. This was, no pun intended, the spark that would ultimately ignite the American Revolution in 1776. This is why, when they did gain their independence, the Founding Fathers were so quick to add this amendment to the Bill of Rights in the United States Constitution. In today's day and age, if one were to propose the idea of a violent coup of the national government or another revolution, they would likely be branded as a social pariah. The concept is completely alien to modern-day Americans, and it is controversial to even suggest the idea. Yet this is exactly why the Second Amendment is so crucially important to the protection of liberty and a free state. It's not the protection of people against other people, it's the protection of people against their government.
When discussing the issue of gun control, it would be ill-advised to simply sidestep the elephant in the room: mass shootings committed by perpetrators using powerful weaponry to commit their crimes. Just in the past decade, the world has seen the Virginia Tech massacre, the shootings perpetrated by Andreas Breivik in Norway, and the Aurora, Colorado theater shooting. This is just a small sample of the numerous attacks committed by lone, disturbed gunmen in recent years, and these vicious attacks on helpless civilians are a monstrous display of human behavior at its worst. These attacks have been the major motivational force behind the introduction of legislation attempting to limit the sale of firearms to the American public. Yet, historically speaking, a ban on the federal level has shown little to no effect on the availability of the banned object. In 1920, the 18th Amendment of the Constitution was placed into effect and the Prohibition era of the United States began. Bootleggers often resorted to less than savory methods or even outright violence to promote their illegal trade. The ban, as anyone who has enjoyed a Budweiser today will assure you, did not last long. The amendment was repealed only 13 years later in 1933 with the ratification of the 21st Amendment. During its short lifespan, Prohibition did nothing to prevent the existence of alcohol within the United States and only served to line the pockets of criminals. The same can be said of the federal ban of marijuana today. These bans do little except drive these markets underground into the hands of criminals. With that said, it is logical to conclude that a ban on firearms would have a similar effect. This hypothetical ban will forbid law-abiding citizens from obtaining the weapons perpetrators of these mass killings will obtain regardless. Someone attempting to commit an atrocity like the ones we have witnessed in the past decade will not be stopped by an arbitrary ban, and the huge supply of firearms already in circulation in the United States will simply not vanish with the enactment of such a ban. The sale of these firearms would no longer be heavily screened and documented. It would only simply become another black market trade.
Autonomy is defined as freedom from external control or influence, independence when applied to decision-making. For the last 200 years, we as Americans have enjoyed this freedom when making choices about the goods we buy and the way we live. When discussing gun control, this freedom has been taken from the American public via ill-advised government regulation and potential firearm ban. Autonomy is a human right that cannot be ignored. One's own ability to make decisions is the driving force of individuality and the foremost principle of freedom. Gun ownership, like any other decision about one's life, should be a personal choice, free of government interference or political pressures. As kids, we were told things like, "You can do whatever you want, America is a free country," and other personally empowering statements. When dealing with gun control, the message has shifted to, "You can own what we tell you you can own." This narrative needs to change. If America truly is the land of the free, then we need to honor individual freedoms instead of suppressing them. Of course, I am not advocating for complete deregulation of firearms. We need structure when it comes to firearm sales and possession. However, limiting the ability to purchase firearm when dealing with an average and rational individual is to limit their freedom as a citizen of the United States of America.